How is up, everyone? It's your boy, a big-ass son! Today, we're gonna briefly analyze the brain-damaging Adrift Banner. More specifically about the legends of Null Follow-up, which is probably more interesting than anything else this banner has to offer, salt included. I feel like anything I have to say about this banner is probably just going to be totally redundant. But to touch it up just in case, we all know that Boobas Rex is a natural predator of Corrin's, so it doesn't matter where Corrin go, you will see her all the time. This is a banner that they so poorly plan and is why they have to put up the whole "Ooh, you'll get Binding Blade in March" as a way of assuring you, as a way of saying sorry. Which honestly isn't even a good idea in of itself, but I digress. Let's get to the technical side of things quickly so that I can talk about this and the Fae channel in a separate video. Though I guess I will cover a little tiny bit about the Refinery at the end too, since that's a relatively small part. Now let's start things off with a short quip about the Corrins. Frankly, they're deplorable. Alright, okay, so they're infantry dragons. That's nothing new. What's terrible about them are their stats, 167, 168 BST respectively. This is the same territory where Summer Tiki was. A supposed trainee plus power creep Gen 2 bonus. Now I don't remember Corrins being trainees before. This would make sense on Kana, as much as I would reluctantly agree with it anyway. But just think about the implications, okay? Just think about it. This could very well be the super hated banner that introduces Generation 3 BST. It could happen. This could be the start of something truly awful. So the bottom line is, if you've invested on a old Corrin, you know, the little blue one that they had in the start of the game, or Kana, then congratulations! You have been completely eclipsed! Anyway, both the Corrins have Draconic Rage, a cute and powerful breath that gives a whopping 5/5 attack and speed. Great! Wonderful! The requirements of having more allies isn't exactly hard to fill, and on top of this, you get a cooldown reduction. So yeah, here's yet another powerful breath, people! Dragon Emblem heroes! In terms of inheritables, female Corrin gets the much vaunted Rally Attack Speed Plus. Now I probably don't need to tell you how much I hated that power creep. Really, it's just something that they really shouldn't have added. I don't know why they rushed to make that thing so quickly. It's just a completely dumb decision, but well, I suppose it's not because they're making money off of it. Anyway, so then female Corrin also provides with attack speed bond, which is insanely powerful on top of the bonuses that they already get from Draconic Rage. And despite attack speed solo being a thing now, this is still a very solid skill for healers, among other normal things that can use this skill. Male Corrin gets attack dev bond, which is compared to attack speed, but it could be very powerful if stacked with the same seal that we're gonna get this Tempest Trials. But really, for both of them, the really most interesting thing is indeed Null Follow-up. So this is the main point of today's topic. Now, I've been thinking about it over the last few days, and I can't help but feel that it's actually not that big of a deal. Alright, so before even knowing that this damn skill only works on infantry units, now, don't get me wrong, it is a great skill. It's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. The main thing is that this skill is not a skill that'll change the meta, as everyone had rushed to claim. Even before the infantry restriction, the very idea that you have to summon on this banner for it is already terrible enough. After that, you get to deal with a bloated cast of 5 stars to contend with. And even if you did get him to demote for whatever reason, it's still not gonna be easy to get him. I mean, look, there's a ton of 3 to 4 star blues as well. And with things as it is, I think that if this skill was meant to change the meta, it should have been It should have been made into a seal, like Hardy Bearing instead. But nah, let's just put the meta breaking skill behind a paywall, you know? Kind of like how we did with the dual skills to fight meta skills behind another paywall. Great, the cycle of life continues, and carried by a powerful unit as well, with 168 BST. This is like carrying armor. They're like armor infantry without the armor restriction. Ridiculous. And, you know, Corrin is no slouch. So, depending on how much you like him and dragons in general, it can be a pretty tough decision. And I know there are people who prefer to keep one of each character at the very least. Alright, so, opportunity costs aside, when you really think about it based on a list of things you could break with this, the breaker skills had been on a decline, so you don't really see that much use of those things anyway. And then there is the quick repose and vengeful fighter. People think that'll kill it? Psh, whatever, dude. I feel like in most cases, when you double these guys who carry these things, you're most likely going to kill them anyway. I suppose you could use this to fight someone of equal speed, but I don't know. It's not something I would do to fight someone with equal speed. I would just bait them into attacking me. Anyway, so back to those guys that you could double. If you can kill them dead, there's really no need to worry about a double attack. And, you know, if you couldn't, it'd be like dealing with Worry Fighter anyway. And you probably don't want to extend yourself for that. You might as well just bait them, like the earlier example. Conversely, there's also the type of enemies who unleash a powerful counterattack on their first counterattack, like Owain, for instance. No point bringing a double if you're just gonna eat it the moment you counter. Guard would be a much better use of that B slot. Guard is still a very, very useful skill. It doesn't matter like what the time is or age. Being able to stop someone from using their skill is probably a tankier option. Preventing their double is great, but sometimes I feel like not letting them use their skills is probably a safer bet. Now, for skills like Bold Fighter, you could position yourself in a way where you could just tear them apart in the following turn. So, I mean, yeah, okay, those skills are terrible skills, and it's a relief that you can now deal with them easier. But they're things that we've been putting up with for over a year, and we still got by. Now, I suppose for Blue Dragons, they could try and defeat Marth's Dragon Breaker, though Marth himself is rather fast, so that's also a little bit iffy for me as well to use. In conclusion, when you think about the other options you might have lost for a B slot, I wonder if a specific counter to a specific set of premium skills is truly all that necessary. In the end, I can't help but feel that Null Follow-up is a toy for the rich to play in the arena, and not the hero of the people that people are clamoring about. Now, a funny thought is if Null Follow-up would know another Null Follow-up. I'm kind of thinking no. I feel like the skill itself occupies another line of code. I also think that it might just be a hard counter skill, like, for example, where multiple quick repulse can still be stopped by a single Null Follow-up. Of course, it's all speculations, and I'm not going to be summoning Corrin to find out anytime soon, so, you know, since I already have Razzle Dazzle as my own brand of Null Follow-up, so just let me know how true my words are, okay? So, either way, my verdict. It takes more than a B slot to change the meta. You can do whatever you want, but unless you actually nerf the skills instead of building new skills, specifically to counter said skills, some things will never change. Bold Fighter and other fighter skills are still going to be best in slot for soul armors. You're honestly just paying an orb so that you can maybe deal with them. Okay, next up is Mikoto. Now that's something I wish I could summon in Fire Emblem Heroes and in Dragalia Lost, but I've already decided not to spend money on Fa until it gets better. So I'm a bit pressed when it comes to free-to-play orbs at the moment. In terms of stats, she's pretty much the next step up from Jenny, sporting the same 35 attack, but with a much better base speed of 32 at the cost of her resistance. Which, honestly, I don't think even matters unless you ploy. Now, if you toy with her as a plus speed, with speed blessings and such and such and such, and give her attack speed solo, you could have a very deadly unit on your hands. As a healer specialist, this is the kind of monster I've been looking for, alongside with Maribel. Still, I'm going to hold off on summoning that for the time being, based on principle. Now, as for her skills, Flash is Candlelight, and Candlelight is an exceedingly dangerous skill. Canceling counterattacks altogether over a large area basically means a death sentence for slower or weaker guys who rely too much on countering their enemies to death. In the past, I made it my business to collect a couple of these so that the 6 passive Pain Plus have some disgusting ways to ruin everyone's day. Now, compared to Null Follow-up, I think having my team rip a defenseless team to shreds a far more meta-impacting move. I'll be looking forward to testing that out in the Aether raids. Now, the next important toy in Mikoto's possession is the Infantry Rush. Now, as aforementioned way back in summer with Summer Noir, it's a fun toy that can save the A or seal slot for your other infantry units. But really, I can't help but feel that it's really nothing to write home about because of being kind of awkward to use. In the end though, I think Mikoto is a great unit with great skills, but she's carrying nothing that I haven't already seen. Okay, so finally, we have Boobas' Dream. A flying tome yet again. She has an exceedingly high attack and a dumb book that can help her double people and weaken their defenses, as long as she's near someone, like Corrin. But in all honesty though, if damage is what I'm doing, I just give her the boring ass Blade Tome and call it a day. She most certainly have the attack to one-shot someone with a base of 37, but that's about it. I mean, she's a boring, uninspired character that gets another boring, uninspired ult with a boring, uninspired set of skills. Ooh, stick together, you'll do more damage. Okay. I mean, I suppose not everyone can be a Versa still, but if you want an extremely powerful bomber unit, look no further than Boobas' Dream. I mean, my old Spring Camilla is still very much viable despite her being almost 2 years old. It's a boring ass set that works, and probably will age well into eternity. Okay, so, now that we've gone over the Adrift Banner, let's take a quick gander at the new weapon refineries and call it a day. So, the first we have is Saber, our first distant counter refine. He's definitely a champion of this month's weapon refinery. However, do you even have one? Because I have 2, alright? And it came from him pity breaking me when I was summoning Celica way back in the days. And that cost me a pretty penny. Now, I've just been holding on to him for the day that I might need his shield pulse for something. And now, he finds himself giving that same shield pulse a purpose. Given the nature of the weapon, I'm sure that this thing was set up with that same shield pulse in mind. So as long as it's up, or any skill is up, he can keep blocking attacks after attacks. Unfortunately though, there's no way for you to block both melee and range, so this weapon is more designed for, say, mainly dealing with range, with inbuilt distant counter. I would give Steady Breath, but I have a homeless solution. I have a homeless solution to that problem, okay? So it's a bit pricey, but let's go back to Steady Breath. We'll give him Special Spiral, we'll give him Soul, and then you can have him take a hit, suck that life back, kill someone, and then you'll get Soul back again. In doing so, Saber can potentially hold off an entire army, range, or melee on his own. Well, potentially, anyway. No wonder he wanted that dagger from Celica so badly. But, it's not as sturdy as outright blocking a skill, because that will help you against powerful skill damage as well. Black Luna! Black Luna! But it's a cute little move that Saber can perform due to having distant counter and Steady Breath. But, think about it for a second, alright? In all honesty, Saber isn't really all that great of a unit, and Steady Breath DC isn't exactly something new either. The main thing is the 3 to all stats that he gets. Yeah, I suppose the cooldown reduction, but that's whatever. But on a unit as rare as Saber, I feel like it's kind of wasted. If he could get to plus 10 easier, yeah, then the 3 to all stats would really help, but I don't know. I don't see too many people with plus 10 Sabers. For those like 1 or 2 guys that really liked him and actually wailed for him back in the day, well, here's your moment to shine. But otherwise, besides, 3 to all stats really isn't anything nowadays. Still, I suppose it does mean that eventually the distant counter weapons such as Ragnell could get a refine to better personify the unit that carries them. You know, the Raijin doll is as boring as Ragnell and all the other distant counter weapons like Lift and Ice Tea, so I'm not complaining. I can't wait to see weapon refinery for those weapons. I want to see what they can do. Anyway, meanwhile we have Shanna and the tried and tested Wodao -1 cooldown effect. It's boring as hell, like Blade Tomes, but it is extremely practical. Shauna is pretty fast too, and have a nice way to use her own inbuilt Despacito with it. So she's fine, everything is fine, as long as you don't, you know, use her as Despacito father. Which... yeah. I only have like a couple left. It's terrible. Okay, as for Florina, let me show you this 3-part picture that should explain everything. See, this is what Tana's refine should have been, except now it's on Florina, and she'll use it to rip Zelgis in half. Of course, she still has to actually take a hit, and her speed isn't exactly all that great. And it's not like she can do much about Bold Fighter either, so I'd recommend beefing up either her attack or defense instead, slap on the god for good measures, so that you can give Zelgis a good time. But honestly, it's not that great. Her stat line is kind of weird. I would prefer a better stat line for this. She's just too slow. Even giving her plus speed, she only goes up to 31, which is not exactly a very fast speed to begin with. Sure, she does get 4 to all stats, but 35? You'd just be matching up to Zelgis, can't even double him. Though, I think perhaps you could run the darting stance, that could really help out. I don't think Zelgis builds plus speed, though there could be some outliers. Regardless of which, that's just how it is. Now, anyway, finally, we have Bartre himself. Using his Axe of Virility, he can pump his everlasting fury into the women of his life and produce a fearsome character after the course of a decade. But the problem with all this is that it's really just a hammer with a fury attached. I guess 2 more attack. Now, or was it 3? Anyway. Although Fury 6 is a fine meme and all that, to me a character is only fit to use Fury if they actually maximize the stats that Fury would have given them. Or someone who wishes to deploy better without the loss of an attack. Now, Bartre fulfills neither. He's a perfectly min-max character who tossed away his speed and resistance for sturdy physical setup. So something like Fury just doesn't work too well with him. I mean, it'll still work, but there are better options for him. Honestly, of all the weapons presented today, his is probably the most disappointing of them all. With an awesome name like that, how could you give him such mediocre effect? Alright, no, that's not fair to Fury. I just wish the effect would be more beneficial to his specific set of stats rather than his character. Yes, amusing as that is. Anyway, that's about it for our analyzing session. Now I better go make that Faye channel video before it's too late and it doesn't age well anymore. Until next time.